Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Rammer, jammer, yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans, the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Welcome into the process, Crimson Tide Recruiting. I'm your host, Justin Smith, the Scouting and Recruiting Analyst, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. As always, thank you guys so much for joining me today on the process on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe to Touchdown Alabama on YouTube to stay updated on everything Alabama football recruiting with the process. And yours truly, we are currently out of a dead period, which means that Alabama's coaching staff is able to host guys for unofficial visits and official visits. They're also able to travel to prospective recruits and visit those guys at their home as well as at their respective school. And Alabama's coaching staff has taken advantage of that so far, visiting guys last week and hosting 3 official visitors on last weekend. They will continue to do that throughout this week as well as host a couple of guys for official visits on this weekend. I did break down Alabama's 3 official visitors on the last episode of the process. Alabama also hosted an unofficial visitor and 4-star defensive tackle McKinley Jackson out of Mississippi, a 4-star defensive tackle who is very impressive and very disruptive in the middle. I got a chance to see him in action in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game, and I was really impressed. And on this episode of the process, I wanted to break down McKinley Jackson and some of the other 2020 targets who Alabama is really pushing for heading into the traditional signing period, which is in February, and Alabama will push to get those guys who will make their choice and sign to the school of their choice in February. And McKinley Jackson is definitely one of those guys in this rack straw. A guy who I had on the process a couple of episodes back is also one of those guys to look out for. I'm going to break down those other guys exclusively on the process. But before I get to that, I do want to hit you guys with a couple of recruiting updates. Alabama has extended some recent offers, and one of those offers went out to 2022 tight end Donovan Green out of Dickinson High School in Dickinson, Texas. I got a chance to catch up with Green after his offer. You guys can check out that article on touchdownalabama.com. The article will be listed in the description, so you guys could click on that link as well. Alabama is also still pushing for some tight ends in the 2020 recruiting class. And one of the guys they were pushing for is 3-star tight end Brandon Frazier out of Texas, a 6'7" guy. He did express to me that he told Alabama's tight end coach Jeff Banks that he's no longer considering Alabama. He's focusing on other schools, and 2 of those schools will be Arkansas and Auburn. And as I said in the last episode of the process, that is possibly where his decision is going to come down to. It's going to be an Auburn and Arkansas battle. So something to just keep a note on as far as Alabama making a push for tight ends in the 2020 recruiting class. One of Alabama's offensive lineman targets in the 2021 recruiting class, Cullen Montgomery, a guy who Alabama hosted recently, made his verbal commitment decision to commit to the Oklahoma Sooners. This was a guy Alabama was pushing for. I think they're going to continue to push for him because he is a 2021 guy. There's still plenty of time, but he did commit to Oklahoma, so that's something else to keep a note on. Something else to keep an eye on is the fact that Alabama will host a Junior Day on February 1st, and that list is getting longer and longer. 3-star wide receiver Christian Lewis out of Pleasant Grove High School in Pleasant Grove, Alabama, has expressed to me that he will be in Tuscaloosa on February 1st. Lewis is a guy everyone should keep a note on. He doesn't hold an Alabama offer yet, but I've seen him play a couple of times. I'm very impressed with the way he plays. I wrote a story on him about a couple of months ago, basically saying he is a guy to look out for within the state of Alabama, as far as Alabama trying to keep some of the top talent within the border. So you guys want to go check out that article on touchdownalabama.com. That link will be in the description as well. So be sure to check out those links and stay updated with everything Alabama football recruiting by subscribing to touchdownalabama.com as well. But to get this show started today, I do have a couple of recruiting questions that I want to answer. So with that being said, let's get the process started. I want to go to my recruiting question. You guys can call into the process at 205-440-3968. Call into the process, leave your recruiting question via voicemail, and it'll be answered right here on the process by yours truly.
My name is Benjamin Nasser from Lynchburg, Virginia, and I have a question. Do you think maybe Zachary Evans might be a good kid for Coach Davis again? And then
think Zachary Evans is a great kid, a great athlete, a great running back. I think he has made some mistakes in the past, but he has apologized for those mistakes on national TV, basically apologizing at the Under Armour All-America game in Orlando, Florida, live on ESPN2. And Zachary Evans is a kid, I think, who, if he's put into the right position, could really blossom into a great young man and blossom into a great athlete. I think something that we all must keep an eye on and keep a note on is the fact that Zachary Evans is a 17 to 18-year-old kid. You're going to make mistakes at 17 to 18 years old, but you have time, and you have a lot of time to correct those mistakes. And I think Zachary Evans is in the process of doing that. And I think wherever school he goes to, they're going to get a more mature young man. Unfortunately, it won't be, fortunately for Alabama fans, it won't be Alabama, because Alabama's 2020 recruiting class in terms of adding running backs is pretty much done with the 3 guys they signed during the early signing period. But I wish the best to Zachary Evans, and I hope he is put into the right position where he can gain some maturity and become a great running back and a great young man.
This is Frederick Whitehurst calling from Dothan, Alabama. And I'm a massive Tide fan, and I would want to know, what are we doing this year on recruiting a good field goal kicker? Is there anything that you have heard? I would appreciate a notice on it. Thank you.
As far as Alabama's field goal kicking situation, after landing the #1 kicker in the 2019 recruiting class in Will Riker out of Hoover High School in Hoover, Alabama, I don't think Alabama is targeting any field goal kickers in this recruiting cycle. They're not really targeting any specialist long snapper kickers or punters in this recruiting cycle. They are really confident in Will Riker, a confident kid. I think a lot of Alabama fans are doubting what he can do, because he did show some inconsistency on this past season, although he did get hurt when he did play. All of his field goals were not made. He did miss a couple, which is something I said he had to work on coming in. I said coming into this season and coming into Alabama, Will Riker was a great field goal kicker with a great upside. I love his confidence. I think his confidence really stands out when you look at this kicker. But one of the things he really had to work on is his consistency. I think he's going to continue to work on that. But he definitely has Alabama's head coach Nick Saban, Alabama special teams coach Jeff Banks, and the rest of the Alabama's coaching staff's trust in terms of them having a good field goal kicker. And I think they really are confident in Will Riker, so they're not really pushing for anybody right at the moment at the field goal kicker position. Now I'm going to break down some of Alabama's most interesting targets in the 2020 recruiting class heading into the traditional signing period. And the first guy I want to talk about is 4-star defensive tackle McKinley Jackson out of Mississippi. Alabama is one of the top teams recruiting McKinley Jackson at the moment. Jackson is a 4-star defensive tackle out of George County High School in Mississippi. Alabama hosted him for an official visit on this past weekend, which was huge for Alabama, basically showing that McKinley Jackson is still looking at Alabama. Alabama is still in a mix, but they're going to have to battle it out against some of the top teams in the SEC. Auburn has hosted him for an official visit, and so has Alabama during the season. He does have official visits set to LSU and Texas A&M, and those are the teams that McKinley Jackson are going to really focus on heading down the stretch. Most likely are the Auburn Tigers, Alabama, along with LSU and Texas A&M. Jackson is one of the top defensive tackles in the nation, and there's no doubt about that. He's very disruptive in the middle of the defensive line and the defensive tackle position. He doesn't have the speed of a leaner defensive lineman, but he's very strong. He has long arms that he uses to tackle fleeing defenders, and he's an athletic big man. So he'll be a huge get for any team that does get him, and Alabama's really going to push for him. This is a guy who had his recruitment laid out earlier in his recruitment process. He always known that he was going to hold his decision off until February, and it's looking like he's going to have a couple of teams to choose from, and all of those teams are going to be in the mix heading into next month, and it's going to be a toss-up of which school gets McKinley Jackson. 3-star defensive back Ennis Rackshaw Jr. is easily the hottest defensive back target in the nation, as he picked up a ton of Division I Power 5 offers later in the recruiting cycle. I did have Rex Stroud Jr. on the process a couple of episodes back, and he basically broke down what drives him from being an underdog and now being one of the top defensive back targets in the nation. He really talked about his competitiveness and how that underdog status and all those times where he was looked over really pushed him to be the best defensive back he could be at this very moment. I do feel that Alabama is in the lead for him. I think they are in a good position to possibly land him. Alabama's head coach Nick Saban did visit Ennis Rockshore Jr. this evening, so Alabama is definitely in a good position. They will host him for an official visit on this weekend as well, so Alabama is laying it all out there for Ennis Rockshore Jr. He has expressed that Alabama is his dream school, so it'll be interesting to see how his recruitment shakes out. He did take an official visit to Missouri on last weekend. He does plan to visit Georgia the following weekend after, I mean, not this weekend, but next weekend after he visits Alabama. So it's pretty interesting for Ennis Rockshore Jr., but Alabama is in the mix, and I feel they lead at the moment. 2024 star defensive end Alfred Collins out of Texas is another interesting target for Alabama heading into next month in the traditional signing period. Alabama did host Collins for an official visit during the season during the month of September. I got a chance to catch up with Collins after he took an official visit to Alabama and visited Tuscaloosa. He did say Alabama's support system really stood out to him. He also talked about his conversations with Nick Saban. You guys check out that article on touchdownalabama.com. The link will be in the description at the bottom of this video. Something to keep a note on with Collins' recruitment is the fact that Texas has been around his recruitment for some time now. They do have an advantage due to the fact that they are his home state school. Also, Baylor is also expected to make a late push. They did host Collins for an official visit this past weekend, so the schools in Texas are pushing to keep Alfred Collins within the state. I think Alabama is in the mix, but I think they do have some more work to do before they're able to lock in a commitment or a signature from Alfred Collins. That will do it for this edition of The Process. Thank you guys so much for joining me on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe to Touchdown Alabama on YouTube. Download the Touchdown Alabama app. It is located in the Apple App Store as well as the Google Play App Store. Be sure to pick up a subscription to touchdownalabama.com. We are gearing up to release our yearly and annual print issue, which Tua Tagovailoa does grace the cover. So be sure to subscribe to touchdownalabama.com so you will have a chance to pick up that exclusive magazine, our yearly print issue on touchdownalabama.com. As always, I am Justin Smith, the scouting recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine.
Process.